Hi, I'm Matt.
Hey there, I'm Bianca.
And in this video, we're talking to the infamous Toronto unicorn, who's going to teach us about how to meet, pick up, and woo a mysterious single bisexual woman.
So keep watching.
So this is exciting. Toronto unicorn, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is great. We've never done a kind of what do you call this? Like where you can collaboration with another YouTuber. This is exciting because so you're in Toronto, but you've got the whole unicorn side of things covered on YouTube, right?
I feel as though I come from a very specific perspective with what I can actually offer about the swinging community, right? So all I've really shown is what it's like to go to as a single girl to sex clubs and things like that.
Okay. And so how long have you been swinging? Where did you hear about all this kind of stuff?
What I like to say, and feel free to mute me whenever possible, or I get in trouble from YouTube all the time. But I like to say I started in this lifestyle 3 years ago, a vanilla straight woman, not even confused about my sexuality. And now I can eat pussy like the rest of them. And I feel like that's what happened 3 years in. It didn't take that long. But basically, I joined this lifestyle because as a single woman, because I waited way too long for a partner. I wanted to be a swinger so bad, but I thought I needed a partner to become a swinger. And so I lost 10 years of my life waiting for that to happen until I finally realized I was empowered as a single woman to not only do this alone, but frankly, be maybe more successful if I do this alone. So that's what happened as I kind of joined the lifestyle, had my very first threesome the night I joined a sex club for the first time, and I never looked back.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay. And so have you seen our channels before, or?
Yes, I am a starstruck fan of yours. I remember when I was first starting out in this lifestyle and I was curious, does this lifestyle exist? And I searched and I found a YouTube channel called Club Sapphire, and it was Matt and Bianca, and video after video after video. And I would see more and more into what it was like to be at Club Sapphire, right? And it was interviews with other swingers and seeing actually on some of your videos, like, Matt, I've seen you like cuddling up with another girl in a video. And I was like, first time where I realized they're not bullshitting. This is their life. They do this. This is awesome. And that's what gave me reason to believe that there was a bigger community out there and that I could find my place in it. And I certainly did.
Yeah, it's always funny when we're at the club and someone comes up to us and they're like, "Oh, I thought you guys were actors."
Yeah.
Well, we've been put on the show a long time. It's awesome, and it's so exciting to find someone else who does this, who
Yes.
is brave enough to be out and about. Because when you're on YouTube and you have many millions of views, people know you. People will see you and go, "Oh, I recognize you." And we've had people at the supermarket in our vanilla lives many times come up to us. And now Toronto's a pretty big city, but I assume you've had that as well.
Yeah, and I think for me, I just don't give a crap. Like, I think, who knows, who cares? I used to tell the same stories to vanilla people and get scowl looks on their faces. So I just feel like finally I get an audience, people who want to hear my stories. I was still telling them before, just not with a very nice, fun audience. You got to find your place, right? So I feel like I've always been a bit of an oversharer, and I think some boyfriends have used that against me. But in a way, I had my experience in the lifestyle, and I went and told everybody about it, even all my coworkers. And I don't think a lot of people do that, right? Yeah. And it was when I started to get repeat questions of, "Oh, I didn't know those things existed," or "Tell me more," that I realized that there was an appetite of it for this information and a gap to fill, frankly. So that's when then COVID hit, and I was kicking it alone in my apartment for a long lockdown, and I started making videos, and that is how Trying Unicorn came to be. Is I just was filling a lot of free time.
Sure. So most of the viewers that we have on our channel, and we get them from all walks of life, but the primary focus that we like to show is the perspective of a couple. Okay. And many new couples come into this world going, "I wish I could find, or we could find, a single bisexual woman." And that's actually, if you're not familiar with the term unicorn, a unicorn is just that. And they are mythical because they are hard to find. Now, we've been doing this a long time, so we have had quite a few experiences with unicorns, but I remember it was probably 3 or 4 years into the lifestyle before the first time we actually had a threesome in that specific situation.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was much easier to get couples, and we'll actually tell people, you know, if you're having a hard time finding a unicorn, what about the wife who has a hall pass? Because if she's bisexual and she's allowed to play with you as a threesome, close enough. Close enough. It's a
Yeah.
it's a unicorn. So
That's interesting. So look outside the unicorn box.
that's right.
That's a unicorn box.
and try to get into the unicorn box. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm rolling with you. Yeah.
Okay, so as a unicorn yourself, what do you find are the big problems that couples have when they are trying to hit on you?
I mean, let me just get on top of my soapbox. All right. I feel I come from a very unique perspective in this lifestyle where I'm a little outspoken, and I've had some experiences with couples and I've learned from them, and I write and I make my own videos on my channel giving advice about what not to do and what to do, because people don't need to make the same mistakes, and your couples are not really that experienced with online dating in my opinion, because they've been a couple for a long time. And so I'm seeing maternity photos on swinger sites, and just because it's a cute couple photo or maybe she had her hair done that day, no one wants to fuck that, in my opinion. That's just not a sexual vibe. And I get that from a few couples photos, is they'll put up pictures where they think they look hot, but the context of the photo is a turnoff, for a variety of reasons. So that's something that I found. Also, if you're doing the online stuff, if you do not put a picture of the male, we are going to swipe right past you. Don't waste our time. Every other couple wants our attention. They're providing the information up front. If you create a barrier for us to get the information we need to determine if we're attracted, we're not going to invest that time unless something really sparkles about your profile. So that's one of the first ones. I also think I get a lot of couples come at me with, what can I do for them? And I am not here to be a cookie cutter sexual fantasy fulfiller. I am here to have a sexual experience of my own. And so some of the biggest turnoffs I've gotten talking to couples is when they'll immediately ask me things about like a certain sexual position. Are you okay to like do this with my wife? And I'm like, well, hey, I'm, insert my name here. Like you haven't even asked me who I am, and you're asking me, will I share a certain position with your wife? Like, I guess I understand those things are important for their fantasy fulfillment, but I feel like sometimes people look at us like we're a sex toy, and it's a turnoff because we want to feel included, invited, and like a full participant.
So in that specific situation, what should they do instead if they want to know about that position?
I think that they could say, get to know me, see if there's chemistry for an interaction, and then get on board with whether or not we're on the same page of fantasy. But when someone comes at me with, will you suck this or do you swallow cum? I understand that they're just trying to filter out people, but it comes at me as if like, I don't need to qualify for you. You need to qualify for me. That's how it comes across.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that when a couple is in the early phases of trying to woo you, that it shouldn't be about the sex at all.
No, I'm also demisexual, and I should make that very clear. Not all unicorns are. Some are very happy to be very quick into a sexual experience and then wish you well. But I am a demisexual, which means I like emotional connection in order to have sexual attraction, and that doesn't go away just because it's a threesome. So for me, I could be different than other unicorns, but I know a lot of unicorns, and I have to brag. I have picked up a lot of unicorns as a unicorn because I know how to pick up women, because I've been that girl. And so I've learned, even when I find a partner, I'm able to pick up unicorns because I make them feel special. I make them feel chosen specifically as a person, not as their body parts. And I also just make it kind of like treat them a little nicer, like buy them the drinks, maybe roll out a little bit of the metaphorical red carpet, like invite them, make them feel like a cherished guest. Don't make them feel like, all right, you can come in, but don't hold his hand and don't kiss them. Like, no one wants that kind of resistant invitation. So I could just keep going on and on, but I have so much to say.
So in that scenario, have you run into the time where they are, doing all the right things and spending time with you and connecting with you, and then they ask, do you do such and such, and you say no, and what would happen? Would they get upset? Would they go, oh, I gotta go find someone else? Like, does that ever happen? Or do they go, good enough, close enough? Or is it you just don't, there's nothing you say no to? That could be too, which is also
As a unicorn, I think there's a lot more flexibility on when people are trying to incorporate me. I don't think they're going to rule me out just because I don't take cum shots in the mouth, which is true. I don't. That's why I'm a swinger, because I want to see all the girls around me take the cum loads for my friends. This is why, seriously, why I like swinging, because if you don't do something and you want your partners to enjoy that, you get to watch that in this community. I just love it. Like, I love being also a participant as a partner too. But no, I think for me, I've also, if you reverse it around, I've walked away after they told me their restrictions in sex. And I've had a couple where I was so excited, the guy, the girl, and then they told me they were soft swap, which basically meant that like the guy was not going to fuck me. And as much as I wanted to still like spend more time with them, I felt so kind of let down that this was not an experience that I was up for, that I basically just wished them well and like immediately like walked away.
Okay, and were they in like were they in person or was this online?
In person.
In
Yeah.
person. Okay, so I guess because sometimes it comes up whether it's at a club or whether it's online or at some events where they might have bracelets or things that say full swap, full swap, full swap. So
Yeah.
you just basically, if someone came up to you and was like, we're soft swap only, you just would be passed. But that's something that you hopefully will find out pretty early on. So so there's kind of this fine line of how much to ask you, what not to ask you without scaring you off, without creeping you out, all that
True.
kind of stuff. But I would tend to say at least the full swap, soft swap question is a mild enough question.
Yeah, I think for me, the offensive stuff comes when they'll ask if they basically, like one of them actually role played the story in an email and said, will I fill that role? And I guess I just wasn't really that interested in what I could do for that couple's sex life. I just thought like, you haven't gotten to know me. I don't really care about that role.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess other people might be different, but you're right. If you don't want to also invest in a person, if they're not even on the same page as you, which is why I think like online profiles should be really well filled out, because that's also a way to eliminate people if they can say soft swap, full swap, or whatnot. But I will say, when you ask the question, where do you find unicorns? It's not online. It's hard enough to find a guy to go out with as a girl online, because they all like flake out, or like you lose interest, or it just happens. Human psychology, we tend to lose interest in things if we don't have some reason to sustain us. And I say that the unicorns are at the sex clubs. Now, I don't know about Club Sapphire, but I do know about Oasis in Toronto, and they are not there when single men are not allowed. There's very few, 3, 4 that might go on a unicorn night. But if you come on a night when single men are also allowed, you might find 15 single women.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, that's very. I hear that same thing. Like oftentimes on the Wednesday nights, for example, at Sapphire, they used to just kind of let as many single guys as wanted to come in, and it ended up being just this giant sausage fest, and that would scare off a lot of the couples, honestly, and some of the single women too, that were just like, there were just too many. So now they've kind of evened it out. They have certain numbers that they'll allow in, and you have to go to that specific night before you can come to one of the big parties on a Friday or Saturday, which is good because the single men need to be shown how to do things. This is a very different world than average vanilla going to a club. It's just so different, because we'll see that, and we've gone to those nights, and it's sometimes entertaining to see a new single guy come in here and like, we'll be talking to each other, and then I'll go off to grab a drink, and then the second I leave, half a dozen guys swarm on her to talk to her, because they were so afraid to talk to me, because that's what you would do in a vanilla club, is like, let's separate them so that I can swoop in there. And it's just like, it's not that at all, because I'll sit back and I'll just laugh, and I'll be like, well, none of you are getting anything now,
rookies.
So it's always kind of entertaining to see, but that they're not bad guys. They just need to know how this world works. But yeah, so there'll always be a lot of unicorns on those nights, because they want
attention. We want attention. And I'll tell you, you would think us unicorns are the center of attention on unicorn night. I have been bored out of my mind on more unicorn nights than I've had fun at. And the reason is I'll flap my tits around the pool and no one's looking, because they're all gazing into their other's eyes. And like, it's just like a twosome. I have never felt like more of a third wheel than I have on unicorn night. And I have gone home many times without anything in my vagina. Let me just put it that way, even if I was DTF, because if all the couples think that everyone's hitting on the unicorns, then no one does.
Okay, all right.
And like, even just the last unicorn night, which is a few days ago, I sat with a girl in the pool, and she's like, what's going on? No one's hitting on me. I mean, she didn't have the most like open energy either, so it's not always just about that. But she proved my point that I'm telling you, there's couples that go to unicorn night that have no interest in single women either. Like they're just there to have a couples night. And so us girls, even when we try to pursue and then we rub up against a couple that's just there for their own date night, it's very confusing. And so we don't want to pursue as unicorns. Like, let's be honest, we really don't want to. As a group,
why should you?
why should we? But we also understand that couples, because we're so outnumbered, we almost have to. And the first piece of advice I ever got from a unicorn, but when I was new, was you have to learn to pursue. And damn it, she was right.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm just trying to think, like the last time I was with a unicorn, it did surprise me that like I was just sitting down and talking to her and we connected really, really well. But it was just kind of like, why isn't some other couple, especially a new couple, that's all they want?
Yeah.
Just kind of swarming in there.
I mean, when you say the word unicorn, that's a broad spectrum, right? I mean, not all unicorns are bisexual.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you're a single woman doesn't mean, so does that mean if you're not a single woman who is not bisexual, does that mean you're not a unicorn? So like, what's the actual definition of it? Because I have a good friend who's a single woman, definitely not bi. She considers herself a unicorn, but I don't know that she really plays with couples a whole lot. I think she's done it a few times and that kind of stuff, but she's definitely more so she just wants to get fucked. And so whoever's available, whether he's married or single or what, but so she's not.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, so Club Sapphire doesn't have specifically a unicorn night. It's kind of like all night. I mean, there's just so many unicorns in the Seattle area that they just kind of show up every night randomly. Yeah, so it's I can't think of a night at all that I've been there where there were like none like that. Just that's very unusual. But you're right. I have seen situations where they're just kind of sitting in the corner and no one's picking them up, and they might be crazy hot, and it's just like. But other people, either they're afraid to talk to her, or
they may not know how to approach.
They might not. So how should a couple approach a unicorn when?
That's a very good question. I understand that not people don't like to always buy people drinks or anything else, but there's very little you can do to stand out at a sex club. And one of those things is to offer to buy somebody a drink, because they're going to be a little grateful. Psychologically, they're going to feel a little bit of a sense of wanting to give you a little bit of time. It's a good opportunity to be chivalrous, but also just ask them probing, interesting questions, not boring questions, not like, where are you from? What do you do for a living? Like, these are the things that, I would sort of stay away from, but I would just get to know them and focus up here. Even if their tits are hanging out, look up here, focus up here, see if there's good chemistry, and then let the other stuff kind of see if it flows out naturally. But for me personally, if they come at me saying, I have a nice ass, well, that's nice, but it doesn't get me any closer to fucking you. I just feel like if you asked me a question about like my experience in the lifestyle and we had a bit of a conversation and I got to get a sense of your humor and a sense of your person, then that would turn me on.
Okay, so but let me back you up a little bit. So you did say to not have vanilla conversations, like don't talk about.
I just mean like mindless, nummingless small talk.
Oh, so the weather outside is yeah. We're in Seattle. It was raining. That's the answer to that.
We've got that covered. Okay, every day. Yeah, like I think some of the most interesting questions, and everybody psychologically, I have a psychology background, which actually really helps me as a swinger, especially when I'm including other women with my partner, because I'm the one that makes the women feel very invited and very comfortable right from the outset, so that there is no concern. They feel invited. They have that metaphorical red carpet to their dick, because I want them to have a great experience. And as a unicorn, I need to be reassured. And if I don't get that warm invitation, especially from the woman, I'm not as likely to feel inclined to do it, because it has to, for me as a bisexual girl, I need the invitation to come from a woman. The man is usually always pretty easy to convince, in my opinion.
You're just be the stunt cock. Yeah, no, and oftentimes in unicorn situations, the guy is also perfectly content just watching the two women go at it for a while, and
yeah,
and that's okay.
Sometimes too content, and I'm like, where's the D? I was promised both, Yeah, I think for me, I also won't have sex with a first-time couple.
Why is
Never.
that?
Because when you have an experience where a woman learns while you're sitting on her boyfriend's dick that she doesn't like it, I didn't like that experience either. I didn't feel good about it. She asked her friend to leave immediately after the sex was over, and they broke up like a few days later. And it was because she did it for his birthday present, not because she wanted to have a threesome. And I just felt like you don't mess around with this kind of stuff. If you don't know you want to do this, don't do it. Like, just, it's supposed to be a good experience. And so for me, if I find out that a couple I'm talking to hasn't yet swapped, I will not swap with them. I will wait until they get something on their belt.
That's pretty smart. You know, we talk about this a bit in that experienced couples oftentimes will tiptoe or stay away from a brand new couple because that has the highest potential for drama. And we're all trying to stay away from drama. I've actually had quite a bit of drama recently, and I've been doing this a long time. So it's not entirely possible to have it completely go away, or to catch all the red flags, but it's still something that a lot of couples will stay away from. So as a unicorn, when you're having that conversation, if you were at the club and they were just like, we've never done anything like this before, but would you, if you could tell that the woman was excited about it, or would you just kind of have as your own rule and you're like, nope?
I think if the woman insisted, that'd be a little different because I could tell that it was being driven by her.
Okay.
But you can tell the difference when somebody is nodding along, or if somebody is like, no, my boyfriend really likes you and your boobs are so perfect, and like, no, that's a welcome, warm invitation, right? Some of the best invitations for threesomes I ever had was just a girl saying, you know, my husband would love to fuck your ass because it's such a big juicy ass. I'm super after we got to know each other, I'm super complicated, like, or what's the word, complimented, because I don't get that a lot. So then that wife or girlfriend gets to watch like ass worship, or maybe they have a small ass, and like, so for me, I like filling a special role too as a unicorn, a variety role, and sometimes I like the invitation to come from that, to say, hey, you're such a curvy girl, you know, my husband or whatever has a thing for you, like, make me feel attractive, make me feel chosen, you know, tell me what you like about me without it being superficial, you know, in a way.
Okay, so can you think off the top of your head of like some really crazy story you had as a unicorn, or some wacky thing some couple did, or something that was either a great story or a super negative thing that everyone should stay away from? Just something.
Yeah. I had a couple lose me at the final moment because they were too pushy. I'm a demisexual, again, to remind you, so I take a little bit of time to warm up. Sometimes it's the same night that I meet somebody, it's just a few hours, but I can't predict that. Mm-hmm. And I had this couple that I had video chatted and everything, felt a good vibe from them. They were eager. I didn't like some of the ways that they would use terminology, like that sounded possessive. Like, I remember at one point the boyfriend said, hey, look, we got a girl, we have a unicorn. And it was like, hey, we have. And I was like, you don't have anything, frankly. Like, I'm you know, like, I just felt like it was the way he spoke was a little bit of red flag. Mm-hmm. Anyways, they basically, I said, I don't really want to invite you to my apartment because it's our first time seeing each other, so why don't we just go have a drink somewhere? And he just kept insisting that, well, it's really hot out and we like to have like really good hygiene for sex. And he's like, so if we're sitting having drinks for too long, that'll be a problem. So he was pushing me on how long it was going to take me to get comfortable so that we could go have sex. And I literally was so turned off because the whole point was to make me comfortable. And now he's pushing me and asking me how long it's going to take me. And I called the whole thing off. So it's easy to push someone over the edge and push them past the comfort level. And especially if a unicorn does say, hey, I'd rather this be local. For me specifically, I don't drive, I don't have a car. I live in a downtown metropolis. If somebody lives out in the burbs with a giant hot tub, I don't give a shit about your hot tub. I want to go somewhere close so I feel safe and I have a safe way back. Here's a story. Oh my goodness. I had a couple who lives 2 hours north from me, which normally I already rule out because as a unicorn, you have the privilege of being able to kind of cast a narrower net, right? And the wife thought it was a good idea, in order for me to meet them, is that I would get in the car with her husband while he was traveling through town to go 2 hours north to meet her for the first time. And I remember saying to them, first of all, you expect me to get in a car with a man I've never met for 2 hours. Then you expect me to go and meet a girl I've never met. And hey, if it goes well, great, but I still don't have a way home. And what if it doesn't go well? Where am I then? And I said to them in the chat, what has happened here has shown me that you have not given us an ounce of consideration from my side. And that is not a dynamic I'm willing to explore, because when a couple is selfishly about just that, feeling that experience, it shows. And the last thing, like as a unicorn, it makes me feel really special when a couple makes sure I get home safely, pays for my Uber to get home, something like that makes me, it goes above and beyond, makes me feel better about the experience.
But yeah, the last thing you want, you know, safety stuff, of course, but then just to get trapped somewhere where you don't want to be, you know, even if you were in the middle of stuff and you were like, I'm not comfortable anymore, I need an out, I need to go. If you don't have a vehicle to take you, or you're even if you're like, I'll just drive an Uber or take an Uber, that's a long wait to see, like, who knows what could happen in that time. Like,
and 2 hours north of where you're at in Canada, I can't imagine there's Ubers. There's just Moose and such. Right?
Exactly. There is no reliable Ubers back there. And it goes to show that they didn't care how I got home. It didn't occur to them. Yeah. And it didn't occur to them that I'd feel unsafe. And I think that goes to show that they thought they were Uber eating themselves a unicorn for their
yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Yeah.
Wow. So the moral of this story is to treat a unicorn like a human. Huh.
Exactly. Isn't that shocking? I know.
Well, if you didn't get anything else from this video, get that, please. That's clearly you got that gist from her. That's really the most important thing over everything is just, you know, treat her with respect. She's a person, and she is something special, and she's something that everybody wants. So so you kind of have to think about it like that.
Yeah.
And actually, if you'd like to see the rest of this interview where we kind of switch things around, make sure that you do go to Toronto Unicorns channel. The link is below, and it's kind of fun. So we're just kind of going back and forth this time.
Yeah, we're like swapping back and forth.
But digitally. And if, of course, you'd like to find out all the amazing things that are happening at Club Sapphire, if you're in Seattle, and welcome to all the Toronto fans that are watching us now, go to www.clubsapphire.net. Check out all the amazing events that are happening, and make sure that you do subscribe to this channel and one of our other channels. And if you haven't subscribed to Toronto Unicorns, please do that as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Toronto Unicorn?
I would, if you ever make yourself to Toronto, I would love to host you at Oasis. No pressure to have sex with me or anything, but I would love to host you and show you what the club is that made this lifestyle amazing for me. So if you ever come to town, you know how to find me.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Anything else you'd like to say, Bianca? All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.